Second condition, we need you to spend some extra time in LA and let our Sanskrit department become a Sanskrit Bengali department, and you will train them. And Prabhupada thought that was reasonable also. And he said, okay, and what's your third condition? I said, Prabhupada, my third condition is, it deals with the artists. I lose a month writing you a letter, waiting for your reply. If there's more follow-up, writing you a second letter with questions for this art. If we don't get the answers to these questions, we can't do the art. There won't be artwork. We don't know what Lord Chaitanya's dhoti looks like. We don't know what Lord Nityananda, the color of his dhoti should be. We don't know how the seekers should look. We don't know when someone should have a shaved head, someone should have a mustache, and someone should have a beard. We don't know anything. We have a lot of questions. So I need to be able to go into your room the second I have these questions and ask them. And if you're not in LA, I can't use the mail. You have to let me use the phone. Prabhupada hated this. Thought it was such a waste of money. I said, Prabhupada, you have to let me use the phone. I will call your secretary, whatever country you're in. I will give him the questions. He has to drop everything, call me back in 1 hour with the answers. I'm asking Prabhupada, you have 1 hour to answer my questions. I was like so nervous, but this was the condition I had thought of to make this work. Now the thing about Prabhupada that's not as well known as it should be. No one asked Prabhupada more questions about anything than the art department. I mean, Prabhupada would always get letters from devotees, philosophical questions, management questions, but no one actually wrote more letters with more questions in all the history of our movement than the artists. And the thing about Prabhupada is that whenever we asked a question, he did not have to do research. He didn't have to look it up. He did not have to consult. Prabhupada would look within and just immediately give us the answer. And to understand how amazing this is, we're asking him about what demigods look like, what their cities look like, what their buildings look like, what their dress looks like. We're asking Prabhupada questions about all kinds of things in the spiritual world and on other planets all over the universe, and he knows the answer instantly to everything we ever asked. Without research, anybody else would have said, I'll get back to you in a month, I'll look it up. We were asking some very difficult questions. What does the god of the oceans look like? What does Varuna look like? Is he watery? What do ghosts look like? How do we paint? There's a painting where Lord Nityananda is having a festival. Now, Lord Nityananda sees Lord Chaitanya there, but no one else sees Lord Chaitanya there. Are we supposed to paint Lord Chaitanya like a ghost? Like you can see through? We had no idea how to do these paintings. We had a million questions, and he answered them. When he said, okay, within an hour you'll have the answer on a phone call, and instantly, if I'm here, you walk in the room. There was never a time when Prabhupada was asked a question he did not know the answer on any topic in the material world or in the spiritual world. That's why there's nobody like Srila Prabhupada. Ever like this. There's nobody that could do that. That's why he's the acharya for these books for thousands of years. And he came up with this idea to add artwork to the books of the highest philosophy. Do you know what the history of selling philosophy books was in the world before Prabhupada? If they print 5,000, that was like amazing. Philosophy books are not bestsellers in the world of publishing. You don't go to a printer and say, I'm going to print 1.5 million copies of this book, and it's a book about philosophy. That doesn't happen. But that was Prabhupada's genius. The combining of the artwork into his books made it possible for this philosophy to be consumed all over the world and to attract people to wanting to read the books. That was the purpose of the art. So the art was... Prabhupada said, ISKCON Press is the heart of this movement, and the art department is the heart of ISKCON Press. So with those conditions, we said, thank you, Prabhupada. Radhaballabh and I left the morning walk. We ran to a car. We drove 20 minutes back to the temple. We had a meeting with the press. They had just unpacked a few weeks before. They were just getting settled. We had just convinced them about 1 book a month. Now we're going to have a meeting about 17 books in 2 months. And when we started explaining how we were going to do it, the same energy that we were feeling, they started feeling it. And everyone said, okay, somehow or other, this is going to be mystic experience, miracle experience, and it's going to happen. These devotees, for these 2 months, did not leave their office or their studios. They would collapse there. If they had to, they left to use the bathroom. We had the LA temple practically shut down in order to cook for them, clean for them, wash them, do their laundry. The LA temple was completely dovetailed into this two-month marathon. So that way, whatever normal mundane duties you have to do in order to take care of your life, we're going to take care of for you. So there was a lot of parts to this marathon that had to all fit. We wanted historical accuracy. So when the marathon first started, I think I took 2 days to start reading through all the books, the manuscripts. And I was looking for places that existed, because it's only 500 years ago, and I made a list. And I called in this devotee, Bhargava. Some of you may know him, I don't know. He was our photographer. And I said, I am sending you to India. I'm giving you a list in Bengal, in Orissa, in South India, wherever Lord Chaitanya traveled. You are going there, and you are doing the whole tour in 3 weeks. You are taking photographs. You are sending them back to us. I have to print these photographs in the books to make them authentic, to show historically this is where Lord Chaitanya was. Here's a round-trip ticket, and here's a little money, and get out of here. Within 2 days, he was on an airplane going to India. And we had to call up the printer and say, listen, we know that you have all kinds of obligations to publishing companies that have scheduled to print their books with you. We're just starting with you. Last year we had just started with you. We're going to give you 17 different books in 2 months that have to be, they all have to be printed. And that means each press, you have to set it up for each different book. I'm going to need all your presses. I'm going to need you to bump every book from the world's most famous authors that you print, because this was the biggest printer in America. Every publishing company sent their books there. And I asked them, can you please bump all of these best-selling authors so that I can print these 17 books on your equipment? Because I have to have complete access to all your equipment. And they said yes. I don't know how that happened, but they agreed. I said, we're printing 300,000 volumes, but it's 17 different titles. Every one needs a different setup. There's different artwork, there's different color, there's different cover jackets. I mean, it's all different. And anyway, so all these different things had to fall into place. And organizing all these different things was way beyond our skill set. All I can tell you is that when you get an impossible order, if you surrender in that way, Krishna supplies the intelligence how to carry it out from within the heart. Krishna, it was his marathon. And he was using all of us, and he just flooded us with all whatever we needed. There was this one devotee that came up to me about the second week of the marathon and said, I just met an artist at the beach. We were doing Harinam, and I brought him back. I want you to meet him. And I had no time. I was not sleeping. But I said, all right, if it's an artist, I'll meet him. I didn't even believe it was real. And this man, about 45-year-old with a heavy limp, had just come up from South America somewhere. His name was Bhakta Hector. He later became initiated. Hector was one of these artists that on TV they can do a painting in an hour of a landscape. Hector was one of those artistic savants, geniuses. He could take, it was like a knife, it's called a palette knife, and he would spread the color, and he could make a forest, he could make grass, he could make he couldn't do figures, he could just do backgrounds. And all of a sudden, he's interested in our philosophy, and Krishna just sent this guy walking on the beach like he had just descended into the earth planet. The devotees grabbed him, brought him to me, we threw him up into the art department. Every background in every painting of the Chaitanya Charitamrita that has any landscape, that is Hector. And every painting. We started the assembly line again with the artists. And they were so mad because even though we had planned it, an artist would work and work and work and finally collapse at his easel 2 a.m, and then I would be sneaking in, taking the canvas off their easel, because if there was still one artist still awake, bring it to that artist, have them paint on it, then when that artist fell asleep, bring it back to the first artist, and I don't know what I was thinking, like they weren't going to notice. About the 4th week into the marathon, the first 5 books were ready. So Radhabal and I rush him to the airport. We ship him to Kingsport Press. Kingsport Press, when they set everything up, we fly Radhaballava out, and in one day he has to approve all the color before they can be allowed to print. We have to make sure that the color is just balanced perfectly. So it was the 5th week of this 8-week marathon when the first 5 books came back from Kingsport Press. They arrived at 2 a.m. at the LA airport. Radhaballava and I, because it didn't matter, we weren't asleep. So we go to the airport, we wait an hour, we get the books. We get back to the temple, it's 4 a.m. They're just waking up the deities, getting them ready for Mangal Artik. We go on to the altar. And the deities forgave us that we weren't clean. And we put on each altar the first 5 books of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila and Ancha Lila. 3 Madhya Lilas, 2 Ancha Lilas. At 4:30, when the doors opened up, you know, we had about 200, 300 devotees living at the temple at the time. The doors opened, no one knew this was, and the doors opened up. And there are the books on the altar that had just come out. The first 5 of these 17 books. That was the most intense kirtan any devotee had ever been in their life. That Mangal Arti kirtan, seeing the fruit of Prabhupada's order, knowing the story of everyone in the movement knew that story about impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary, and here they are. I can still feel that kirtan to this day. That kirtan lifted everybody. Your feet weren't touching the ground. It went on for an hour. We couldn't stop chanting. We were in such bliss. It was just, we were seeing a miracle. We were seeing the reality that absolutely nothing is impossible. We could do anything. We can change the world. Nothing is impossible. That was the message that went out all over ISKCON. There is no such thing as impossible. That's what Prabhupada gave us in that marathon, that faith to surrender and be the instruments to proving that and to seeing that and making that part of your Krishna conscious life. So, with your permission, we'll stop here. And on my next visit, I can share some more Prabhupada stories. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.